This happened in May of 2015, in CA, which will help those who are familiar. I had graduated college in June of 2014, moved back to my old hometown, and started a consulting company with my boyfriend, which was going pretty well. We had just finished a contract in the Bay Area, and we're beginning a new one about 8 hours south in Torrance. He moved down there first to start setting up, while I took care of loose ends at our closing contract before moving down to meet him. The day comes and I pack my car and head south, down the Interstate 5. For the uninitiated, it's a straight highway with little in the way of scenery, aside from the occasional strip mall, and its monotony has a reputation for putting drivers to sleep at the wheel. I pass a strip mall with gas and a fast food joint, and decide to fill my car and my stomach. I go to park in the food venue's parking lot, but it's completely full. So I park across the street at a hotel, which at the time I didn't think anything of. I go inside and eat my meal, and then cross the street to get back to my car. I'm well into the hotel parking lot when a pickup truck pulls down the aisle and cuts off my path and stops, with the passenger side facing me. The driver is alone and a clean-cut white male in his mid-30s. I don't remember anything about him except that he looked very generic and buttoned up. The way he pulled out in front of me to block my path, it didn't initially set off any alarm bells, as he had done it pretty organically, if that's the right word. He rolls down the window, and the dialogue follows. Excuse me, miss. Could you please tell me where the grocery store in town is? I'm sorry, but I'm not from here, so honestly I couldn't say. Okay. Where are you from? Good question. I don't know. Not here, though. I didn't say that to be rude. I had just moved through so many cities at that point, and was on my way to a new one. I honestly wasn't sure how to answer it. He laughs and makes a joke, then asks me where I'm headed, and I mention that I'm moving. I will say that he was very charismatic, and at this point, I just think that he's trying to flirt with me. And if I hadn't have been so exhausted or in a relationship, on another day, it might have even worked. He makes another comment about how unpleasant moving can be. Damn straight, I think. And then gives a warm chuckle and extends his hand to shake mine and goes, "Well, I'm glad I got to meet you. I'm Scott." So, if you recall, the truck is in front of me with the passenger side facing me. I actually take a step forward to grab his hand, and then got the delayed response of every alarm bell that should have gone off earlier. I'm in a hotel parking lot. He asked me a question that establishes that I don't know where I am, another question that establishes that I'm alone, and a further one that establishes that I'm not expected at my destination for many more hours. The thing that connected all of these synapses was when he extended his hand, he didn't make even the faintest effort to make it accessible to me. He didn't lean over the seat or move forward to me in any way. His hand was hovering comfortably over the center console, waiting for me to grasp it, which, in order to do, I would have had to lean well into the car. Again, I had already taken a step toward him and begun to raise my hand to take his when the sirens just went off. I rocked backwards, back to where I was standing, and I just remember looking him in the eyes for what felt like forever, feeling everything click into place while also half convinced that my imagination was just running wild. His hand still waiting, I lowered mine and felt my eyes slightly narrow with suspicion, and slowly said, "Hey, I'm going to walk away from your car now, Scott." And in that instance, the truck burns rubber with thick grey smoke as the guy guns it out of the hotel lot at 100 miles per hour. He must have fucking floored it. It was regrettably smart on his end, because I didn't have the license number or anything to offer the police. In the immediate minutes following the event, I felt relieved, but hadn't really processed the full weight of what had happened. Unfortunately for me, I had many more hours to think back and analyze the whole interaction to shreds. The car was somewhat lifted. There could have easily been another person, or even 2 or 3 other people hiding inside. Would he have pulled me in? Would I have been injected with something? Then my mind just kept creating all of these scenarios where I wake up hours later and nobody would have even known where in my drive I went missing, or possibly not noticed for the most of the day at least. I still get creeped out thinking about how close I came to taking his hand, and how fortunate I was that I didn't allow my reaction to be driven by manners, as criminals often take advantage of. My high school held an annual Euro tour, and I went on my first one in 2011 when I was 16. There would be a bunch of teachers and parents that would come along to supervise, including our headmaster, and almost everything was scheduled. But we did get a few hours every day to explore the cities ourselves. The tour was 12 days long. This would be my first experience on a plane, so my first experience overseas as well. So my friend and I were casually walking the streets of Rome, not too far from our hotel, taking pictures and whatnot, wasting time before we had to meet our entire group of around 15 kids and 4 teachers for pizza at a small restaurant, also very close to our hotel. This comes into play with what happened later at the restaurant. Fast forward, we're at this restaurant now, all sitting on the sidewalk eating pizza and chatting. The teachers were sitting inside the restaurant, right near the door, to keep an eye on what was happening outside. I decided to go next to the door to buy myself a bottle of water. I didn't think to take anyone with me, as the tiny corner store was so close to the pizza place that a few kids were sitting near the entrance. After leaving the store, I got pushed up against a light post by a large man in a dark jacket. He towered over me, opened his jacket to cover me, and asked me my name. I was in such shock that I couldn't even respond. So he asked me again, and I just refused to tell him. Luckily, one of the girls saw this happening, ran over and grabbed me out of this man's reach. I immediately burst out crying, and we alerted the teachers. Our headmaster, thinking that he must have been drunk, shouted at the man to leave, and the man disappeared around the corner. All was well, and things calmed down. I was now standing against the wall with 6 people in front of me, closer to the entrance. This same man then pops out of what seems like nowhere and tries to break through the people in front of me to grab me again. This causes huge havoc with everyone around us, and now all the adults are on high alert and getting involved, trying to chase this man away, only to see him run a little further down the road and hop into a white car and drive off. We got the entire group together again after this, and we were escorted back to the hotel, very confused by the whole situation. Later that evening, we got our free time where we got to pick our own restaurant in the area to go to with our group of friends. We were normally in groups of 5. We dressed up, walked down the streets until we found a restaurant we liked. The earlier incident had lost its worry with all the excitement and activities that were going on. We were heavily distracted, in other words. We then all, the whole tour group, minus adults, decided to meet up at a bar, since Euro tours can't be complete without the older group trying to act a little naughty, slipping in a few irresponsible drinks before curfew, that is. As I got to the entrance, I was pulled inside by 2 of the people on my tour and told to sit down. Apparently, someone spotted the same man from earlier on in the day, in the same white car, sitting parked a little further down the dark road.
This time, he was with another man too. I just broke down at this point. We were all terrified. We explained what was going on to the owners as best as we could, and decided to head back to the hotel as a group, constantly checking around us and keeping count of every person. Luckily, we were leaving for a different town, not too many hours away, very early the next morning. This experience, it still haunts me. I don't know where this man first saw me or how he knew that I was going to be at that restaurant. He may have been following me the whole day for all I know, through the night maybe, knowing exactly what hotel I was staying in and everything. Being from South Africa, Europe was another world to me, and we had this idea that everything was safe and free compared to our country. Now, looking back, I sure wish that I didn't let my guard down so far.